Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Go Boys. Coming up on the show, Matt Grissom of College Baseball Insiders will join us. We'll talk a little college baseball as the NCAA tournament begins on Friday. Get his thoughts on sleepers, odds to win each region. He's got a lot of thoughts. He's as good as anyone when it comes to college baseball. So mixing it up a little, doing some college baseball. Look, it's the summer. We're going to start to do some different things as we only have so much basketball to discuss because our finals are set, but we have a week off as it will be the Dallas Mavericks versus the Celtics. Dallas just completely thumps Minnesota in a very strange series, a very surprising result. Not that Dallas won the series is that surprising. Not that Dallas won Game 5 is very surprising, but just no flow. And really the Western Conference playoffs from the point of, and these playoffs have been really disaster from an entertainment standpoint and what we thought would be a good playoffs, injuries, blowouts. It's been a number of things, but really dating back to Minnesota, Denver, I don't know how other people feel. I've had very little feel for these series. I thought, Denver, once they got control of that series, would win. That was a series with no flow where Minnesota went up 2-0, then down 3-2, and then they're down 20 in Game 7 and win that on the road. And it looks like Minnesota is really more tailored to beat Denver than anything where, hey, they need the size, they need to take away Jokic, where they're just not good enough on offense to beat a team like Dallas. Now, look, they could have won all of the first 4 games. They led it to 440 mark of all of the first 4 games. So some of it's playing the results where, hey, it's a make or miss league. And that's what it feels. A lot of it come down to just, hey, some nights the shots are falling, some nights they're not. Again, home court has meant nothing. I mean, I think I've been guilty of that too, trying to like misjudging this series where I just feel like home court means something, especially between two teams that are pretty comparable, that, hey, home court is going to, it's going to matter. Where a close game, hey, you get the close call. It's just there's a reason, it's hard to win on the road. But this year, I mean, in the West, OKC and Dallas, the road team won a bunch of games and almost won another one with OKC blowing a late lead in Game 6. Minnesota, Denver, Minnesota was a winner in that series on the road, and the road team went 5-2. This series, road team went 4-1. I mean, it's not only has it not mattered, but the road teams have dominated, which is just very strange. You see that in baseball sometimes. You see it in hockey where home field doesn't matter a lot. Texas, Houston in the ALCS, the road team won every game. There was that World Series a few years ago. Astros, Nationals, where the road team won every game. So you see it in baseball and hockey. It's more down to the goalie. In baseball, it's more about the pitcher. But in the NBA and NFL, being home matters. And it didn't this year, and just a very strange series. Give credit to Dallas. This time last year, they missed the playoffs and they really redid their team at the deadline. Little move here and there. They pick Lively 10th. They get Washington and Gafford at the deadline, and they were at some longer numbers. I know people got them 45, 50-1, and they are in the finals now. And I think there's going to be a lot of sentiment for Boston for a few reasons. They have the best player in the series in Luka. They have a plus sign in front of them where they're going to be getting almost 2-1, and that Game 1 line will pop up pretty soon here. I think it'll probably be Boston 5.5, 6, something like that. And Boston's going to be like a -230, -240 series favorite. And I think there's going to be a lot of sentiment just because they, like I said, best player, almost getting 2-1. People aren't going to want to lay -250 or whatever it is with Boston. And if you liked Boston, you could have bet them to win the title. It was pretty clear. It was pretty apparent weeks ago, if not months ago, Boston was going to be in the final. So if you kind of had a hint that Boston was going to win the East like they were, you could have grabbed the -130, -150, -170. I don't think anyone is going to be jumping to grab a -250. Plus, Boston just hasn't been that impressive. And you can say, hey, they only beat who's in front of them. They went 12-2. There's a lot of truth to all of that. But the bottom line, they haven't been overly impressive. They haven't been great on defense. Yes, Porzingis has been out, but they have not. You just watch them and they lost. Their losses are so bad. Their losses are so loud where Miami buries them. Cleveland beats them by 30 in Boston, which should never happen. Their losses leave an impact on you. And even their wins against the Pacers, where they scrape out these wins without Halliburton against the very mediocre Pacers team, those don't leave you very inspired. So I think there's going to be a lot of sentiment for Dallas. I'm not ready to pick this series. I don't know if anybody wants to hear me pick this series. I haven't been right about much lately in these playoffs, other than I thought Boston would cruise pretty easily, like everybody did. I thought Denver would beat Minnesota in 7. I picked Minnesota in 7 in this series, which, look, I thought there was a real case for Dallas. I just thought toss-up series, home team in 7 just as a tiebreaker. That was wrong, where Dallas just dominated these games in Minnesota. So I don't have a great feel. I don't know who I'll pick in Dallas, Boston. I'm honestly not sure I'll pick. I do think it'll be a longer series, but look, I thought this past series would be a longer series. It's just been a very strange, very quirky playoffs. with not a lot of the series being competitive, not a lot of the games being competitive, not a lot of just flow or not a lot of predictability, and some trends that were really as good as gold in past years, like the home team loses game one, they always roll in game two. Well, that didn't happen this year with Minnesota, Denver, with Minnesota, Dallas. It's been kind of all over the playoffs. And again, when home court doesn't matter, when you can just throw out home court, it really throws a curveball on everything. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about the NBA Finals. We still got a week to go, but Dallas moves on. They will face Boston, and what should be, I would think, a good final. So plenty of time talking about it. The last thing about this, there's a lot. Boston needs to win because Boston's been in the mix here a bunch. They're not getting Denver, who, hey, if you lost to Jokic, you could live with it. They're getting a Dallas team who was, a fifth seed, is a fifth seed. So you got to win the series. You've been around a million times. This is your window now. You don't get a lot of these. This isn't going to be, I know they're pretty young, but you don't get every year where everything breaks so well for you. This is broken perfectly for Boston. They have to win. It would be a disaster if they're not holding up the trophy here in a couple of weeks. But let's do a little college baseball with the tournament starting Friday. Baseball all weekend, kind of an under the radar sport. There's a lot of value, a lot of long shots. Ole Miss won this tournament at 100-1 a couple years ago. Gil Alexander, who's been on the show, had them at 100-1. So you get a little unpredictability. The games are fun. So excited to talk to Matt Grissom. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. The NCAA tournament is underway, or about to be underway, for college baseball. Fun time of the year for this next guest, first-time guest, Matt Grissom, NCAA Baseball, collegebaseballinsiders.com. Matt, what's up, man? Happy college baseball season.
Happy college baseball season. I can't believe this is the first time that I've been on your podcast. I feel like I've talked to you for years now, but yeah, happy to be here, man.
Let's get into it. I guess we'll start for people that haven't been following along. Let's just start here at the top of the board. I mean, if you look at the odds, it's you don't have to know much to know the SEC is pretty good. The favorites here, A&M and Tennessee around 5-1 to win it all. Arkansas 9-1, as well as Kentucky 9-1, and then LSU 10-1. Anyone among those five that you think, hey, they should be clearly above the other 4 or 5 here?
So I wrote up in the VSiN article last night an interesting trend as far as tracking the last 5 national champions over the last 6 years, because obviously we didn't have one during the COVID year, but they've, coincidentally enough, outside of Arkansas losing to Oregon State, they would have all been SEC. And then you have weighted runs created plus over 100, so above average hitting, and then a 3.50 Sierra or lower. And they all had more road wins than road losses. And if you go by that same metric, it leaves 2 teams, Tennessee and Texas A&M. Both of these teams are very well balanced. They both have solid pitching and hitting. But the number 1 overall seed hadn't won it since 1999. So that would knock out Tennessee if you think trends are going to continue. So I wrote up my best bet as Texas A&M plus 600.
Interesting.
And it's not sexy, but college baseball is very chalky. So you look back, all of the teams that have won it all started in the preseason top 8. When you look at the sample size, it is SEC, everybody else, and typically it's chalk.
Anybody among these 5 that you don't think belongs here, and anybody you would recommend staying away from?
I'm going to put my foot in my mouth because I have all season long. Kentucky. This is a team that just doesn't do anything great. They play smart ball. Eric Mingione is a really good coach. They have dudes, but they don't have a dude. And it's evident. They're 41st in batting average in the field of 64, 33rd in home runs, 41st in weighted runs created plus, 38th in ERA, 44th in xFIP, 40th in Sierra. None of their stats would say that they're deserving of a 2 seed. But guess what they did do? They have more quad 1 wins than any other team. 28 and 11 in quad 1, quad 2. So, yeah, give them their roses, but I'm not going to be surprised if Indiana State goes in there and bounces them because they play a very similar style of ball, and Kentucky just hasn't really been challenged outside of that Tennessee series.
Let's go down further the board. Let's have some fun. I know Ole Miss famously won this whole thing at around 100-1 a couple years ago. I forget when they were 100-1, but pretty late in the season. Not saying that's going to happen this year or every year. I mean, that's obviously 100-1 for a reason. But if you're looking longer down the board, who are 2 or 3 teams that you would consider here?
I mean, they're not They're not 100-1, but you could look at a team like LSU, who is 16-1, I believe. They were preseason top 5. They kind of fell out. They really struggled. They figured it out with Gage Jump, Luke Holman. They could recreate that magic. It's obviously a team that's been there winning it all last year. They've got a good 1-2 punch in Jump and Holman. But moving down the board, I really like Duke. They're getting Jonathan Santucci back, their ace. They've got Andrew Healy, Kyle Johnson, a really solid pitching staff. This, in my opinion, is the best team in the ACC. They should come out of it. They won the ACC tournament. I'm not buying Clemson. Wake is just too spotty outside of Chase Burns. But when Chase Burns is on the mound, it's usually a win, but outside of that, they don't really have anybody. So I like Duke 33-1. May take a nibble on LSU 16-1, but they've got a tough regional to get through with North Carolina.
Nothing else further down the road. If there was anybody that you thought about betting way down, and just, hey, I can't quite get there, but I could see it possibly happening, or at least get to a College World Series, who would that team be?
I mean, I say if you're going to twist my arm, you've got to go SEC, following a similar path of a team that was probably on the bubble, should have been left out. You look at a team like Florida. Florida's stats are still really good, but they just could not win. They're 28-27. In my opinion, they should have been left out. But they got paired up against their red hot Oklahoma State team, which I absolutely love. Gave them out a week or two ago at 60-1. I think they're 30-1 or 45-1 right now. Still love those. The Cowboys, they're 11th in weighted runs created, plus they're second in Sierra. Advanced Analytics really like them. They've got a 3-headed monster on the mound with Holiday, Garcia, and Benji, who's also a two-way player. But Florida, Nebraska in that regional, I feel like your toughest competitor in that one is Florida. So I would say Florida for the long shot, but I just don't see them getting past Oklahoma State. Not right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Nobody's cooling off these Cowboys.
And a lot of games this weekend. Why don't you just get to some of the ones you like in terms of, or we call it the region. We go from 64 to 16, then to 8 in the College World Series. That's how it goes.
Yes.
I know it can
Yep.
be a
So regionals,
complicated format a little bit.
it's the easiest way to do it is just to remember, don't lose twice in any given weekend, and you're good.
And how about this weekend? Any of these matchups that jump out to you?
I would be lying to you if I told you I was ready to give out some bets. We're still trying to compile a lot of the starting pitchers, which that's one thing that we're doing. Collegebaseballinsiders.com. You can go on, you can check out the probable pitchers right there on the home screen. And then you can run a matchup preview where it's going to give you side-by-side analytics of all of these teams. I know one team I talked about yesterday was Wofford. They're playing LSU. They're plus 190. That seems right. I was hoping Wofford would be a bigger dog. They can absolutely rake. I think they're first in batting average in the field of 64. And LSU may, they're going to regress, I feel like, back to their mean. They played out of their minds through Hoover and ultimately lost to a really good powerhouse in Tennessee for the SEC championship. So Wofford plus 190 if you want to flirt with a bigger dog. So many of these 1 versus 4 seeds seem overpriced, which it's not going to surprise me if we get a big upset by a 4 seed, but I'm trying to pinpoint one. San Diego over Oregon. That's a coin flip, minus 115 both ways. I think the Toreros are good. I love the Ducks, but they've got slotted in a tough regional with UC Santa Barbara and San Diego. I think San Diego takes care of business in this one in a coin flip game. Like LIU is plus 1,500 to North Carolina, who's minus 4,000. Like, get out of here. They wouldn't be minus 4,000 if they were playing or plus 1,500 if they were playing the Yankees. These odds are just so off the top. But if you've got a matchup that you're looking at, I would love to help you break it down.
I'll ask it this way. Do you think any of these big boys, any of these major contenders could be in trouble this first weekend?
I would say Clemson. I think Clemson could be in trouble. They're not really trending in a great direction right now. I'm trying to think of who off the top of my head, who they've got in that regional. But Florida State should be fine. Typically, if you go look at the like 7, 10, 8, 9 seeds, that's where you can find one that's in trouble. Georgia was pretty much gifted a path to Omaha through the Athens regional. They get UNC Wilmington as the 2 seed and Georgia Tech is the 3. Georgia Tech can't pitch, though. Clemson's got Vanderbilt, Coastal Carolina. So pick your poison. You've either got a really good pitching team in Vanderbilt or a really good hitting team in Coastal. If Clemson's not on, I would put them on upset alert.
Yep, and Clemson gets High Point in the first matchup. Is High Point, I'm 34-25. Is High Point live in this matchup or no?
Probably not. They've got a 56th ranked ERA, 58th Sierra. They can hit. I wouldn't be surprised if High Point jumps out early and scores a couple runs, but Clemson's got this MO of getting down 6 or 7 runs and coming back in the 8th inning. That's not going to play well if you finally play a team that's got a good pitching staff that could shut the door. So I'm very interested to see who comes out of that Vandy Coastal matchup. I think Vandy's minus 150 right now. I think Coastal's worth a play at 120. Vanderbilt, while they are good at pitching, they struggle on the road. Bryce Cunningham's splits are off the charts, different from home and away. So I think Coastal plus 120. Maybe throw a little bit on them to win that regional as well.
UConn's a team, a local team here. They've come close a couple times getting Omaha. They just can't get over the hump. Sounds like this is not going to be the year where they're a good program. They just don't have that ceiling to get over the hump. Is that a fair way to characterize it?
Yeah, they're a fun team. I go on with Jeff Dawson. We always do the UConn update. They strung it together here lately. They've played well down the stretch, but I just feel like this again, going back to the fact that it's all chalk typically, these little guys just are going to struggle to make any noise. And when you're paired up with Duke and Oklahoma, like Godspeed, UConn. I hope they can steal one. I don't want it to be against the Duke Blue Devils, though.
Interesting. How about pros in this tournament, just in general? Who are some? Is there? I don't think there's a Skeens from last year, but who are some of like the 4 or 5 best guys that you're going to hear these names a few years down the road here in the majors?
Well, the guy that's being compared most to Paul Skeens is Hagen Smith. He's got a nasty slider. He's a lefty at Arkansas, so I've seen him pitch a lot. But outside of that,
Got a little
offense,
Randy Johnson in him, Hagen Smith. I've actually seen
yeah,
him at least.
yeah, he's got stuff. I hope he plays a lot better this weekend, though. His first outing a couple games ago was not very good, but I think he'll shake that off and get it right. Charlie Condon at Georgia, dude can absolutely rake. He's leading the country in weighted runs created plus. Jack Caglione, the phenom at Florida, he pitched a lot better this year than he did, but he's still smashing the ball. And then outside of that, I mean, you've got several guys that are just glue guys, but I would say right there your top 3 picks. And Cags, Hagen, and Charlie Condon.
And the first pick of the draft will be who, or does it depend on?
Probably. I mean, it depends. If they need a hitter, it's going to be Condon. If they need a pitcher, Hagen.
So it's between those two. Yeah, I've seen Condon, man. Condon made some absolute bombs. I saw one, he hit over center where it cleared everything. And yeah, I think baseball. I think you could start to bet. More of these sites are offering betting on the MLB draft too, which is gonna look. That's the way for the sport to take off. Betting on it, betting on the draft, things like that. Where are you in terms of this sport and its growth? I know I've always thought it could be more popular. I think it hurts it a little bit to start so early. Like they start in February and people just aren't in baseball mode yet. But you've got some real estate in June when the College World Series takes place. NBA Finals is usually over. There are games on during the day. So there's room for growth. Do you think it's going in the right direction here?
I do. I think with you, they should start it like a couple weeks after the Super Bowl. Let that settle down. Let March Madness kind of get rolling, and then you can slide in there and start right at the end. But the problem with that is it pushes you into July, August. And while it would be nice to not have to watch, what's your 10 best fast food restaurants and do the rankings through the summer when it's slow, it would be too hot for them to play college baseball in the summer like that. As far as the growth, I think it's been really good. I'm with you. I think it has potential to grow. into something a lot better. And I think that's just going to be a result of sports books offering more odds on it. I know we got some K props throughout the season sporadically with Chase Burns and Hagen Smith. And then last year in the national championship series, we got some nerfies and yerfies, and just growing it by adding to the betting market, getting people some action to have on the games and give them a reason to watch it. Because if you put your money on a team, you probably want to watch it. And that's another problem, is how do you watch it? And most of the time during the regular season, it's through ESPN Plus. You may get here and there a televised game on SEC Network or something, but really, I mean, it's up to the network and the sports books to really push this and say, hey, this is a really fun sport. You need to get into it. And ESPN does a great job for the field of 64. They have squeeze play, which is like NFL red zone with the octabox and everything going on. Absolute fantastic television. Y'all have to check it out.
If someone's listening to this, say, hey, I'm busy this weekend, but I'll have time to watch one game. What's the one game I should watch this weekend?
Oh, probably I'm going to say Duke and Oklahoma tomorrow, assuming they both win. Oklahoma should beat Oral Roberts. I think Duke will win, but Duke is my pick to like make a deep run in this tournament. I think they got a little slighted not being a regional host. This team's playing really well. Outside of that one, let me just think. There's not just because like Tennessee, Georgia, I feel like they got pretty easy regionals. Texas A&M, if you're a diehard, old school Big 12, you want that. But Texas, in my opinion, is not very good. Anything in that Tucson regional, there's going to be my cop-out answer right there. Grand Canyon, Arizona, they play tomorrow. And then you have Dallas Baptist and the other team. It's escaping me right now. But that one's going to be a high-scoring affair. Take the overs. A lot of runs being scored in that one.
Ben Wilson, who does work for VSiN, he broadcasts a lot of these games, these college basketball games. I remember college baseball games. I know he mentioned Dallas Baptist beginning of the season. Maybe he's a team that's live. Is that a team that can make a run?
Yeah, they've got a really good ace in Ryan Johnson. I feel like if anything, they get past West Virginia, that fourth team. And Arizona is, I mean, they're good, but it's the Pac-12 or Pac-2, whatever we're down to now. They are good. They took the Pac-12 tournament from Oregon State, all these other teams that were ranked higher. They got the host, 13 seed. It's jumbled up though. We've got odds. Arizona plus 188 to win this regional. Dallas Baptist plus 192. Grand Canyon plus 600. West Virginia plus 312. These are all from Jeff Davis down at Circa. You can see the thin margin between DBU and Arizona. And if DBU gets through there, they're going to get the winner of North Carolina, LSU, more than likely. I mean, when you look at it, this team can hit. They can pitch with Ryan Johnson. Outside of that, it's questionable. But across the board, and that's what's so great about our guide that you can get, collegebaseballinsiders.com. It shows you all of the stats right there, all four of the teams together, win probability. And right now we've got Dallas Baptist 29.5 and Arizona 29.9. So it's neck and neck.
Matt,
Case in point, if you can get plus money on either team, feel like you need to take it in a matchup.
Matt, you're the best man. So we got A&M's winning the whole thing. That's the bet here.
That's the unfortunate truth that I'm going to try to talk myself out of along the way.
Should be a lot of fun. A lot of baseball this weekend. And then what? So 2 weeks from now, we got College World Series. That's when that's the it's the best 2 out of 3 Super in the regional next weekend. And then after that, we go to Omaha, right?
Yep. June 14th, we're in Omaha, top 8. Hopefully we'll have boots on the ground.
All right. Well, we'll have you on again right around the College World Series. Hopefully. I appreciate the time here. Let everyone know where they can find you.
collegebaseballinsiders.com or on Twitter at Grissom on X.
All right, Matt. This was fun. Good luck in this tournament, and we'll catch up here down the road.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that'll do it. But before we go, after I got done talking with Matt, he actually texted me. He was like, hey, I didn't bet any games, but I should have mentioned I did bet a few regionals. So to win the regional, and he bet a handful of these, and He wanted me to relay these. He bet Texas A&M minus 140 to win their regional, Georgia minus 115 to win their regional, Oregon State plus 105, Duke plus 115, Mississippi State plus 145, and Oklahoma State plus 105. Those are all just to win their regionals. He said he hadn't gotten into specific matchups yet. Still waiting for pitching announcements, how these teams are going to handle their pitching. But he did bet all of those to win their region. A&M, Georgia, Oregon State, Duke, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma State. And he did mention with me that he liked A&M 6-1 to win it all. So that will do it. Enjoy the games this weekend. We will be back Monday. Rate, review, subscribe. Talk to you guys then.